Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Tommy with Elevation Every Weekend. In today's video, I'm going to do a top 10 list of the top 10 fat bikes of 2021. This is my subjective list of the 10 bikes that I really like for 2021. For those of you not familiar with my channel, I actually own 3 fat bikes. I have a 2014 Surly Pugsley, a 2020 Surly Ice Cream Truck, and a 2021 Salsa Beargrease. As a result, I have hundreds of hours and thousands of miles on all 3 of these bikes. They are very different bikes. So as a result, I'm really familiar with the characteristics in a fat bike that really make it excel. And all the bikes on this list demonstrate the ability to be really strong contenders if you're in the market for a fat bike. So like all bikes in the bike industry currently, fat bikes have kind of segmented out into various forms. I'm breaking down this top 10 list into 2 groups of 5. One are going to be the fatter tire bikes. So that's going to be bikes that have 4.5 inch tires or larger. And then what I'm going to call mid-fat, which are bikes that have tire sizes from 3.8 inches up to 4.4 inches. Now all the bikes on this list can run a variety of sizes. Many of the mid-fat bikes can run tires that are over 4.5 inches, and vice versa is obviously the case as well. So I'm really kind of basing it on the tire size that the bike comes stock with as far as which category it ends up in. And then the other factor for this list is price range. I'm targeting this on what I call from the mid to the upper mid price range. So from about $1,500 to about $3,500. I'm not really going to cover the bikes that are at the very high end, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. And I'm not going to cover bikes that are less than $1,500, that more budget-friendly entry-level list. I'm going to do a separate video on that, so if you're interested in that, stay tuned. And the reason I settled on this is because all these bikes perform well, and all these bikes are the kind of bike that you buy it and you could get many, many years of good performance out of it, and they're worthy of upgrades and things like that along the way. So this is really the target demographic for I think what a lot of people are looking at for a fat bike. So again, I'm not going to be ranking these bikes from best to worst or anything like that. All these bikes on this list are worthy of consideration based on the budget part, but the other part is application. So some of these bikes have certain characteristics that make them better suited for certain applications than others, and depending on what you're looking for, even though there is a fair amount of overlap, it's really going to guide your choice as to the bike that's best for you. I am at the end of the video going to pick the 2 bikes that I would choose, so stay tuned for that. But right now let's get into the fat bikes. So the first bike on the max fat list is probably the bike that epitomizes what that is, and that is the Surly Ice Cream Truck. It comes in currently at $2,099. It is a fully steel framed rigid bike. It has 26-inch wheels with 4.8-inch wide tires, so the widest tires on the list, and it can actually run up to 5-inch tires, which is probably about the only bike that can run a tire that big if that was something that you required. This bike is probably the most trail oriented of the group as far as its head tube angle. The head tube angle is at 68 degrees. And again, we're not talking enduro bikes here, so the head tube angles are not going to be one of those things, again, not to fixate on. It does have the most slack head tube angle of the group at 68 degrees. Most are in that 69 to 70 degree range. And Surly definitely does promote this bike as a trail oriented bike, and it certainly is a highly capable bike packing bike. It's one of the bikes that has the maximum amount of braze-ons and mounting points for bike packing. It does allow routing of a dropper seat post, and you can run a front suspension fork with the Surly Ice Cream Truck. And it also tackles the most gnarly, chunky dirt trail, mountain type conditions. So it really can go over just about anything that a bike can go over. And like most Surly bikes, the Surly Ice Cream Truck comes just as one build. So good value bike at the price point of $20.99. Next up on the list is the Ice Cream Truck's cousin, the Salsa Mukluk. This bike actually does come in several price points. The baseline aluminum version is about $1,700, and the base carbon version is about $2,800, and then they have a couple other versions over both of those. But you do have some variety with the Mukluk as far as frame material. And much like the Ice Cream Truck, it comes in with some good sized tires. They're 26 inch by 4.6 inches, and it does have a 69 degree head tube angle. So Again, it's certainly a bike that is trail capable and can be set up to be more of a trail bike, but it does have a full plethora of mounting points as well for bike packing and adventure biking. They promote it as a stable exploration-based platform, so it's definitely an outstanding option if you're looking for a versatile big tire fat bike. Next up on the list is the Trek Farley. It comes in, they have 3 different models. The baseline aluminum version is rated about $1,800. They have a mid-level, I think it's the Farley 7. It comes with a suspension fork and some other upgrades, and it's about $2,500, I believe. They do have a carbon version, and it slots in at about $3,300. A little more on the high end of the scale for this list, but they do offer a range of options. One of the important factors with Trek and the Farley is when it entered the market, it was the first one to come in with the 27.5, or at least if it wasn't the first to have it, it was certainly the one that really legitimized the 27.5 wheel size. Once they come in with a change like that, they can actually move the bike industry, and we definitely saw a lot of other companies move in that direction after that, which is great because both wheel sizes have their merits depending on the type of riding you're looking to do. So all the Farley bikes have 27.5-inch wheels, and they come with 4.5-inch wide tires. So the width is not as big as a couple of the other ones I just mentioned. Because it is a 27.5-inch large tire, the footprint, the rubber on the ground is actually comparably large to, I think, some of the wider tire options at 26-inch, and that's because you get a longer footprint on the tire with the bigger wheel size, even if it's not as wide. And that's really where your traction comes in, and when you air down, it's not so much the width that is a big factor, it's the length of the footprint that really changes when you air down. So that's why it was actually great to have that option where you get the bigger rollover and some of the other options of the bigger wheel, but still not sacrifice having that maximum traction. Probably the only detriment is you do give up some sidewall, so you lose some of that suspension effect. The higher volume, like a 4.8 on a 26-inch size wheel, you just have more sidewall, a little more volume. So that's the trade-off, but they both have merits. One unique thing about the Trek Farley bikes is they all come standard with a dropper seat post, which is a cool option, and they certainly all are capable of running a front suspension fork. They're kind of in the middle of the road on the bike packing side of things. They certainly have some mounts. They don't really offer anything on the forks. So they're kind of in the middle, but they're still certainly capable. And with frame bags that Velcro on to bikes these days, you can add a lot to any bike without having any actual required mounting points. So I would put it somewhere in the middle of the road on the bike packing spectrum, but it's certainly capable of it. All right, guys, number 4 on our list is a company that I think is often overlooked. They actually have quite a strong pedigree in the bike packing and the gravel riding and fat biking world, but I think a lot of people don't really have them on their radar, and that company is Kona. They've been making great bikes and mountain biking, gravel riding, all those things for quite some time. And they've been offering a bike called the Woe in the fat bike world. It is an aluminum frame bike, and they have 2 versions, an $1,800 version and a $2,200 version. Basically, it's just, part spec is the primary difference there. This is the only bike that matches the ice cream truck on tire size as far as width goes. It has 26-inch wheels by 4.8-inch wide tires, just like the ice cream truck does. This bike does accommodate a dropper seat post, and you can run a fork on it, and it does have a 69-degree head tube angle. So again, kind of right in the middle of where most fat bikes are as far as that the slackness of the head tube. For bike packing purposes, the lower priced one is actually, I would put it more in the middle as far as the available mounts. However, if you do get the higher price version, you do get a fork that does have mounts on the fork, so that definitely bumps it up a notch on that side of things. But again, Kona is definitely well regarded in the bike packing side of things, so I would have no qualms about the Woe being a really good solid bike packing fat bike if that's what you were looking to do with it. And then last on the list is kind of an interesting one. So it is the Giant Yukon. It's interesting because Giant was actually hesitant to get into the fat bike realm. They kind of, for several years, they did not really act and come out with a bike. Even in doing so, they didn't really go all in. So, Giant usually being one of, if not the largest bike company in the world, when they make a certain type of bike, they usually cover every angle from the low end to the highest of the high end. So they didn't really do that in the fat biking segment. They have two different builds. Both are aluminum frame bikes. The lower price build comes in at $1,700 and the higher price build comes in at $2,100. It is a really great looking bike. And interestingly, like Trek, they also went with 27.5-inch wheels and 4.5-inch wide tires. So they did kind of follow along Trek's lead on that side of things, which is pretty interesting. The bikes do support a dropper seat post, and you can use a front suspension fork on them. Another thing that makes this an interesting looking bike to me, it's the closest to the ice cream truck on the head tube angle. It's at 68.5. It's a nice looking frame, and it looks like it could really perform well in a variety of types of riding. It's another one that kind of is in the middle of the road on the bike packing side of things. It's not really designed for that. Definitely an intriguing bike to close out the list of the 5 max tire fat bikes. Okay guys, moving over to the next 5, which are the mid fat bikes on the list. This company is another one of the OGs in the fat bike realm, along with Shirley, who came out with the Pugsley, which is I think widely regarded as the first mass production fat bike. Was a company called 907 out of Anchorage, Alaska. They're credited with coming out with the first production aluminum framed fat bike. Right along with Shirley, they were kind of right there at the forefront of the movement, and they were certainly doing great things up in Alaska as far as making bikes that could kind of do it all. And that's one of the things that they promote with their bikes is they're capable in a wide range of uses, from maximum snow riding to dirt riding, trail riding, bike packing, adventure riding, all those things. They promote their bikes as a year-round capable platform. So the bike we're talking out with them in our price range is called the Tundra. Again, it's an aluminum frame fat bike. They do have 2 versions that actually are in the price range we're talking about. They have one version that's rated at $2,400, and then the other version is rated at about $3,000. Again, both aluminum frame. They do have carbon options. The cheapest one of those, which is the Lynx, is at $4,200, and then they have an even more expensive one than that. So we're only going to talk about the aluminum ones in our price range. Their bikes come with 26-inch by 4-inch wide tires. They are capable of running a dropper seat post and a front suspension fork if you so desire. They have a 69-degree head tube angle, so again, right kind of in the middle of the range for most of these bikes on that. And then they're another bike that is plentiful with their mounts, because they are adventure bikes. They kind of have all the options as far as mounts for adventure. Definitely one of the bikes, that have been doing it the longest, one of the companies that have been doing it the longest. So, definitely a little higher on the price points, but if you have the budget to afford their bikes, I would strongly, encourage you to consider looking at their bikes as they've been there right from the beginning of the movement. Number 2 on the mid-fat list is a bike that I know well. It is the Salsa Beargrease. I actually own a 2021 Dior Salsa Beargrease. So this is a carbon frame bike. It slots in right at $2,400. Wheel size on the Beargrease is 27.5 by 4-inch. It is designated as a groomed racing bike. The carbon frame is really lively. The pedaling platform is really amazing on the bike. It really launches forward as you pedal it. It is dropper seat post compatible. You can run a front suspension fork on it. And it has the 3rd slackest head tube angle at 68.56 degrees, so just behind the giant Yukon and then the Surly ice cream truck there. So definitely a bike that's highly capable, even though they kind of target it as groomed racing. It has a narrow Q factor, and it really is a lively, speedy bike. It has all the mounts. It's one of the few bikes, along with the 907, which I neglected to mention, that actually has a set of mounts on the top tube, which is uncommon for most of these bikes. But the Beargrease has it, so it really does has maximum bike packing mounts if that's the way you wanted to go with it. It's a very quick, very fast bike too, and it's definitely a highly capable all-around bike and a lot of fun to ride. Third up on the mid-fat list is probably the most unique bike, the most different bike on the list, on the entire list really. And that is the Surly Wednesday. A couple things make it unique in that it's the only bike where the rear axle spacing is 177 millimeters. All of the other fat bikes on the list, whether they're mid-fat or on the fat list, are 197 millimeter, which is kind of the standard for fat bikes. but the Surly Wednesday is a little odd in that it has a much more narrow rear spacing. As a result, it comes with 26 by 3.8 inch tires, so definitely the smallest tires on the list. However, you still can run up to 4.6 inches. So again, it's not severely limited. You can still run good sized tires, plenty ample for, snow riding that, most people would do. The Wednesday is capable of using a dropper seat post. You can run a front fork on it. It does have a 69-degree head tube angle, so again, kind of right in the middle of that range for these fat bikes. Even though it's kind of similar to the ice cream truck in its construction, it's the same kind of steel frame design and construction. It does have that narrower rear end, so even though it can't run the maximum tire size that the ice cream truck has, and the geometry isn't quite as trail aggressive, it's probably not quite as maximum capable in the harshest conditions. The benefit is it's a little lighter, a little more nimble, so it's a little more of a playful bike. If that's more what you're looking for, it's probably the better option for most people, but it's definitely a worthy consideration. And it also happens to be the least expensive bike on this list too. So definitely, if you can find one, it's definitely one's definitely worth considering for a good all-around fat bike, whether it be trail riding or getting into some snow riding. And like the ice cream truck, of course, it has pretty much all the mounts that you would want. So it certainly is highly capable, like most Surly bikes, as a bike packing rig. Fourth on the mid-fat list is a company that's a little bit different than most of the others. I think this company's been making some of the best looking bikes across the board in the industry for quite some time. They have always caught my eye just with their design, and that is Canyon. And the bike is the Dude. The Canyon Dude is their fat bike entry. What makes them a little bit different is they're a direct-to-consumer bike company. So they don't really do the dealer network thing, or require it at least. You literally order from them directly. So that makes them a little bit different than most of these companies. But the Canyon Dude is a great-looking fat bike. To me, it does remind me a lot of the Salsa Beargrease as far as its application, its styling, the type of bike that it is and what it's designed for. It's clearly designed to be more of a race bike. It does come with a 27.5-inch wheel set, much like the Beargrease. Actually, the tires are slightly smaller at 3.8 inches. It is not only capable of running a dropper seat post, it is actually one of the few bikes on this list that comes equipped with a dropper seat post, and you can run a front suspension fork. Probably the biggest detriment to this bike compared to pretty much all the others on the list is the lack of mounting options. It literally appears to have just one water bottle mount, and that's it. So it's definitely at the low end on that side of things. Again, with frame bags and things these days, you can still kit up a bike, any bike, pretty thoroughly using frame bags, Velcro mounts and things like that. But just so you know, it's definitely designed to be more of a fun bike, a day ride bike, a race bike, and it's not really geared by design for the long expedition bike packing type thing. Okay guys, and last but not least on the list for today is it's actually a bike that I had a really hard time classifying which list to put it on. And the reason is because it doesn't really come with a standard definitive setup. And that bike is the Borealis Crestone. They actually make an aluminum version of the bike called the Flume, and it comes in right around just over $1,800. But for this list, I'm gonna kind of focus on the Crestone, which is the carbon version, and it comes in just over $2,800. They hands down have the coolest website of any of these companies as far as the way they do it. So they do set a baseline on the price for the bike, but they don't set a build spec and say this is the bike. What they do is they set that baseline price, and then as you go through, you select the frame size and the color option you want, and then from there you literally select all the components on the bike that you want based on a wide range of options that they have for each. So wheel size, wheel brand, of course the drivetrains, various specs, brakes, even down to tires and tubes, tubeless, things like that. They really kind of parse it out, and the really cool thing about it is if you select kind of the baseline options in each of those things, that'll get you to that baseline price that they advertise the bike at. If you have a certain price point you're looking to hit, or price isn't a factor, the other cool thing is as you make changes, as you option the bike up or down, you can see the price change, but you can also see the weight impact. So if you had a target weight you were trying to hit, you could definitely go on there and option the bike in a number of different ways to hit that target weight. The price might fluctuate, but you can kind of see what parts, what upgrades impact not only the price, but the weight of the bike as you make them. So not only is it a ton of fun, but it's a way to kind of option a bike probably about as closely as you can to the way you would customize it to from the factory. The reason I had a hard time pinning it down is because you can option it with 27.5 or 26-inch wheels. You can go smaller tires, larger tires. It's really your choice. The bike can take up to a 5-inch wide tire on a 26-inch wheel, or 4.5-inch wide on a 27.5. So that really kind of puts it in the fat category. The reason I put it on the mid-fat list is because I kind of did so based on the way I would option it up, and I would definitely option it up as a lightweight carbon wheel, smaller tire, speedster, more of a race bike. I think that would be really fun to do. So that's why I put it on this list. But again, the range of options, it's really in a category of its own as far as that goes. But of course, the bike, accommodates a dropper seat post, and you can option one on. It does accommodate fork. The bike does have a 70-degree head tube angle, which is kind of, less slack than most of the others. But, again, the bikes are definitely built for all-around use, and, it does have some bike packing capability if that's what you want, but I kind of see these more as more fun to ride trail type bikes, race bikes, things like that. Highly recommend checking out the website and playing around with it and seeing what you think. So now that I've given you my 10 picks for 2021, I am going to narrow it down to 2 bikes that I would personally choose off these lists. So knowing that I already own the ice cream truck and I already own the Beargrease, even though those 2 bikes would obviously be at the top of my list since I've already bought them, I'm going to pick 2 other bikes that I don't currently own, and these are the 2 bikes that intrigue me the most from this list. On the fat side, even though the giant Yukon does kind of intrigue me, I think I would really want to try the Trek Farley, especially that carbon version. But any of the Trek Farley bikes would really kind of intrigue me, seeing that they have the 27.5-inch wheels, but they also have the larger tire size. I think that's an interesting combination, and I'd be really interested in trying that out. In the mid-fat list, again, already knowing that I own the Beargrease, the bike I would be most interested in trying is the one I was just speaking about, and that's the Borealis Crestone. Again, after spending so much time geeking out on their website, it would just be a ton of fun to actually build kind of the bike of your dreams, and being able to pick all those options and really put together something and get something from the factory that was really dialed exactly the way you would want it. That'd be my pick from the mid-fat list. All right, guys, that covers our top 10 list for 2021. I'm going to put links to all of these bikes down below in the description. So if you were interested in checking out any or all of them, just go right down below in the description, and the links are there so you can get right to them. I'll also link some of my videos that are relevant, like regarding the ice cream truck, the Wednesday, the Beargrease. I'll link some of those down below if you wanted to get more on my take on those specific bikes. If you're enjoying the content I'm bringing you, please subscribe to the channel. It really helps out the channel. If you have any questions or comments or concerns, drop those down below. I do answer all of my comments. And if there's any bikes you felt that I overlooked or that you would have put on this list or taken off this list, drop those down below, and let's get a discussion going. I'd be curious to hear what you have to say. I have a bunch of new content on the way for you, so if you're interested in seeing more, definitely hang around. So thanks a lot, and have a great day.